What's up, everybody? One Fun Guy podcast in the studio this morning. Today, my guest is going to be Beth. She has an amazing story, guys. And I know I don't normally do podcast in the morning, but for this one, I made the exception. I am happy to have her. Beth, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about why you're here.
Hey guys, so I am Beth. I actually have, and if I say this right, of course I can't say it right. Anyways, I have cancer. So I was working on it so hard before this came on.
No.
Anyways, so what happens is about last May, I was starting to have these weird feelings like I was envisioning things in my head, and then I would get severe headaches. I would get sick to myself and just was sleep most of the day, and it was just odd, and it was becoming frequent. And I'm going to put this plug out. If you guys have insurance and they allow you to have a pharmacist come in and kind of go through your physicians and stuff like that, your pharmacy, I highly suggest it, because I was explaining to this person and they were like, well, Beth, this kind of sounds like seizures. And I was kind of ignorant to that, and I've never had anyone have seizures, and if it did, they were flailing on the ground, and that's not what I was doing. And so I went to a doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, maybe it's this medicine, maybe it's this, and it never really stopped. But there was also other things in my way where it would stop for a little bit, so it was not a priority. So went to a couple of doctors, and they were all like, oh, maybe it's this medicine, we'll give it, 3 times. I finally went to a doctor because it was happening 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, something's not right. And one of the things that I was taught as a young child is always go with your instinct. From my dad, he's like, go with your gut. Majority of the time, your gut is spot on.
Right.
And just something wasn't right. And I went to a doctor. Happened to be that day that I was having this really crazy, headache. I'm even what's it called with lights and sounds?
Like a migraine?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Migraine. And it was worse than that, and the doctor even gave me a shot. Nothing was working. They said if this continues, you need to go to the hospital, and so nothing helped. Finally went to the doctor, and I'm by myself. For whatever reason, my family and I kind of had split up, and it was just me. I was telling the doctor, this is the situation. I go in thinking, oh, I'll just get some medicine and come back out. But they did a CAT scan. And, this lady, who I now know, comes in by myself and says, oh, by the way, you have a massive tumor, and we're life flighting you. And I'm just like, what?
Right.
How, it's a headache. It's a headache.
Sure.
It's a headache. And then other things happen. There's a lot of storms and stuff like that. So I actually had a friend of the worker actually took me to the hospital and met with my family there. And then Friday the 13th, I had surgery, and I had part of my brain removed. I have I have to look this way. But I have like
Sure.
a scar. Um, and they were sending it off to see exactly what it was and stuff like that. And it was just unreal. Um, it was just, I don't even know how to explain. Like,
Sure. It's difficult to do that. So can I ask a quick question? From
that's,
the time you had the surgery, like prepping for it and going into it, did they tell you that it would be, there's like a high risk involved, that there might be some nerve damage, some memory loss, some things, or did they just say, listen, we need to get this done and we'll worry about everything later?
yeah. So no, there wasn't a lot of conversation. Um, it's a lot of, we have to do this. Um, that is one of the things that, like, I would advise people that if they're ever going through any form of cancer, is to ask a lot of questions. Because currently, so I still have the tumor here. As the off, I have to remember that's the opposite. Um, so I still have tumor that's in there because if they were
Okay.
to like get all of it, there was a higher likelihood of having brain damage.
Okay.
Um, and I do have brain damage. Um, I laugh at this all the time, but I bet you now if I were to do like a what is it, like the education testing to see where you're at,
Right.
I would be low. Like that is why my name is Brain Damage Beth,
Mm.
because I do. I have like I can't say words. Um, sometimes they don't come to me like you had answered for me. And memory loss.
Okay.
Like it's we have to laugh at it, but like there'll be times that my parents um will say, "Hey Beth, go get this real quick," and by the time I go to pick up whatever they're wanting me to pick up, I completely forgot. So I go to my parents who are elderly, um, and they're like, "Oh crap, we don't remember."
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I guess it's important enough.
Right.
Those are just things that we just laugh at because that's our
Sure.
reality.
Okay.
That,
Now
that
post surgery,
mhm.
you wake up, you have this scar, you're obviously in a hospital bed, you're probably all wired up, IVs everywhere. What was the recovery like for that? Was that something that like they said, okay, you're gonna have a certain amount of time, or is it was it just like day to day?
Um, so after the surgery, we learned a very big thing about me. Up until now, I never really had major surgery or anything like that. Um, I become very combative. At one point, I had 6 men trying to restrain me. I have pictures of where I have like fingerprints of where they were trying to hold me still. Um, and I was restrained, and then they had to like sedate me and then like bring me out even more. So
Okay.
typically, it would have been I think it was supposed to be like 1 day.
Okay.
Mine actually took I think they said it was four days of slowly bringing me out of the anesthesia.
Okay.
So I wouldn't, and that's anytime. We have recently done some research, um, and found a different type of anesthesia that I can take now that doesn't do that anymore.
Okay.
Because I do have surgeries and surgeries and surgeries. Um, but so then there's like the recovery. They had to make for sure, like, where was I at if I had any damage. And then you have to do all those like works. Like I had to always look up, look down, can walk on my own. And I also had to figure out at that moment where I was going to stay, because I couldn't be unsupervised.
Okay.
Obviously at that point, my parent, the minute
Sure.
my parents said tumor, I was coming to live with them. So that wasn't even a question, and stuff like that. And just the legality of
Right.
doctors and having to have like all of these different doctors that had to be involved in,
Sure.
and figuring out all of those. I want to say altogether from the 16th, I was there 12 days.
Okay.
So
So
I think I'm not 100% for sure,
sure.
but a long time.
Okay. So now post getting out of the hospital, right? You go home, you kind of get situated. Did they give you like pain management, any type of therapy? Was there like any, obviously there was some, or did they just kind of let you go?
Yeah, no. Obviously I had they gave me like medicine, but I actually have a high tolerance of medicine.
Okay.
Um, we also didn't realize that up until then, that I have a high tolerance. So for a little bit, like I would take higher dosage, like I obviously got like Oxycontin
Sure. Sure.
and all of that
Right.
stuff. But for majority of it, I had a lot of like Tylenol and
Okay.
ibuprofen, like nothing.
Sure. Now, when you got home, um, did you have like any type of like concern that this might be like worse than it is, or did you maintain a positive attitude? Like, what was your mental health like at that point?
Uh,
Like,
yeah. So it's actually like now we laugh at it, but during the time, so all of my family are in the medical field. My sister's a PA. My brother and sister-in-law are both paramedics and have been doing it, a really long time. So they
okay,
have a lot of knowledge. And so my sister um, was actually talking to one of the surgeons, and said that it looks like Beth has gliomocosis, I believe, or something like that.
okay,
Gliomo, which in lame terms is like I'm not going to be around, but like a year or two,
okay,
maybe. Um, and so we were all like planning things, like planning like my funeral, getting power of attorneys, things like that in place, even
hmm,
though they're still doing like their own like studies and stuff like that, with which
right,
is Mayo Clinic is a renowned area from where I come from. Um, but because of the doctor, and that doctor has really good um surgeon, like he's
sure,
well known too.
right,
And this is not his first rodeo. So me personally, I was just still, I think, in shock.
okay,
So it never hit me. Like it never hit me.
sure,
Um Later I did, and I do have a therapist that is one of my good friends actually, that I talk to quite often. Because it is hard. Like, I mean, ultimately like you could die from
right,
this.
sure,
And we later found out that it's a glastoma. I said it. I
hmm,
said the glastoma. Um, but I am a 3-4, which is, I mean, the worst. Three
right,
three fours are the worst. But with a mutation, which means basically like I will always have cancer.
Okay.
It'll always be in that area. But the positives of it is that it's not growing.
Okay.
So that's what it means.
Okay. So have you like always had like a positive attitude then, like a fighting spirit that you were gonna, continue on, and that you never had like the thought of like maybe I should just give in? It's always been a positive for you, or
No,
is that always?
I have never. There was one time where I think it was a panic attack, and it was by um myself, and I just needed fresh air. And I think if I wouldn't have gone out there, maybe I would have done something. But I just knew I've I've had
Hmm.
clinical depression um for a while, and so I already take medicine. I think if I wasn't taking that medicine, probably would have been something completely different.
Sure.
um, I also have a lot of techniques and things like that from what I do with being a social worker and working with children that have a lot of mental health. Um, that tends to help.
Okay. So from now moving forward, how often do you see medical doctors? Is it like a weekly thing? Is it like a monthly thing? What's your checkup schedule like? And then what are you doing now to like combat it? Are there certain medicines they're giving you? Any type of treatment? Can you kind of give us like from here now what happens next?
Yeah. So before I get to that, like I have to explain some of
Sure.
the doctors. When I was going through, obviously we found out that it was cancer. Um, and the severity of it, we started the radiation and the chemo. And so like that's the thing that people don't realize. um, Granted, I'm so thankful that I was able to take um the pills.
Okay.
Um, and if it ever you're able to give that option, I highly suggest it. For me, it was not as um, side effects
Okay.
as normal, going to the room and having a pick and going through all of that. You don't have as much side effects. Like I never got sick.
Okay.
Never. I mean, I got tired and slept a lot. But it was not as much as what people who have had
Sure.
have said. But because of those, I wasn't being very lethargic. Um,
Hmm.
and it actually ended up having a blood clot. While it was close to Christmas. I just kind of looked at my mom and was like, "Mom, something's wrong. Like I just can't I can't breathe." Um, and so my oxygen level was at, I think it was like 64.
Okay. So.
So my sister-in-law, who was actually in PA, was like, "No, no, no, you need to call 911." I'm like, "I've heard you tell stories." No. And so my sister was like, "Get here now." And when I actually got to the ER, it was 50, I think. No, 64.
Okay. But
Um,
way low.
do what?
Way low, because normal oxygen levels should be like 96 to like 99,
Yeah.
right?
But the
Basically.
thing is that's another thing that we learned is that I'm very atypical. Like I don't have fevers. I never had one when I was a child. Like I don't have side effects until it's like emergency.
Okay.
Um, so we have that. And because it went on for so long, and that I still have blood clots in my lungs and in my legs, it affected my heart. And so, like, after that, now I have not just radiology and, you know, my cancer and the neurosurgeon. Now I also have a heart doctor. I have a
Okay.
pulmonologist. Um, so I have a lot of doctors. Um, and it's like the other day, we were so happy that we didn't have a doctor's appointment in a week.
Sure.
Like, you know, we were so happy that, oh, we can actually sit and not have to do anything for a whole week. Um, so that was always nice when we had those days, but it's a lot. Um,
Oh, absolutely. I can imagine.
so even though I will always have my cancer doctor. And right now it's every 3 weeks because of the type of cancer that I have. It's a very, very high risk of coming back. Like, it just is what it is. I think it's like a 70 something percent chance of coming
Okay.
back. On positive note though, it can't move through my body. Like, it
Okay.
will always be in
In
my
that
head.
area.
Yeah, we were very adamant, like, this can't, and they're like, no, like, this cannot go anywhere. It will only stay in your head. Now it can move in my head, so like it
Hmm.
can go over here, it can go back here at any point, but so
Sure. So let's talk about the upside and how you approach life, because like it's inspirational, honestly,
yeah.
about like, because some people would just kind of like be like, just I'm ready to go now type of
This
thing.
is what I hit
You,
earlier.
yeah. So you have that fighting spirit, which I love. And that's why, when you asked to be a guest, I was like, absolutely. What is like your outlook towards life now? Are you trying to get as much stuff done as you can? Do you or do you just live every day to the best of you can make it? Or do you have like, I want to do this is like a bucket list type thing?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of bucket lists. I actually completed 2 bucket lists. And this is kind of a bucket list itself.
Sure.
Um, I just so it's so hard for me to explain. Like, I don't know where my attitude changed. I think it was really with, and I know other people see things differently, but I just kind of fell to Christ and was like, okay, like, obviously you want something. There's just been a lot of, like, weird things that have happened.
Okay.
Um, and I always just feel like that was God leading me, my family, into whatever
Sure.
that they want. Like, before October, I didn't talk to my family in a year. And as soon as my parents told my families, hey, this is what's going on, they haven't left my side.
Okay.
And I mean, my parents have gone back to church. I have. So I think for me, I think it's just, it is what it is.
Sure.
There's a reason, and I'm just gonna live my life. Don't get me wrong, there are bad days when I just want to sit here
Right.
and cry.
Oh,
I get
yeah, that.
frustrated. But then we have fun too.
Sure.
I don't know if a lot of people see, like, my TikTok. I try to put, like, pictures and stuff like that on my TikTok. There's tons of pictures of us just being funny going through the process, like, like those granny carts.
Hmm.
That is a new thing now. Well, we finally found one, and so there's a picture of me and my brother-in-law pushing me. There's a picture of him holding the back of my shirt because I'm wanting to do things I'm not supposed to, and just having to sometimes just have fun. There is actually a really funny. It was right after. I think this is kind of where the idea changed. We were so I lived further away,
Okay.
and so I went to where I lived, and kind of just started looking through what I need to be done, because like I'm not going to be on my own. Like I've come to the terms that I will never be alone.
Okay.
I will always have to have somebody with me,
Sure.
either my parents, like there's ever a guy, like that's far from. I don't even think about guys right now. But if that were to ever happen, like I just could never be alone.
Okay.
And so we were there looking through, and my sister was there, and there's a restaurant that we all love, and everything was fine. There was people next to us. At that point, I hadn't lost hair, and I had long hair, so I was able to like comb to where you couldn't see the scar. So if people were to see me, no one would know, like that. I just had surgery or something.
Right.
And so we're eating, and I wanted to take some of the chips home, or dabble on it on the way home or whatever. And out of nowhere, my hand just goes bloop, like all of my chips just went right down my shirt, like right down. I have no clue why. No clue. And so my mom goes, "Oh, Beth, like you're." What did she said, "Oh man, your damaged brain." Like starting to where, like, I guess the person next to me heard me, and the person next to me heard me, because she was like, "Oh, that's so bad." But my mom, my sister, I'm laughing because I'm like, my hand just went whoop. Like, is that gonna be my life? And the lady came out and didn't ask, didn't do anything, but got the largest sweet tea I can have. Didn't care about my sister, my brother. She just heard me say cancer, blah, blah, brain damage. She's on the floor, like, trying to clean up. I'm like, Jenna, it's fine.
Yeah.
But you have to sit there and laugh. Like,
right.
I've had days where I'm really tired, or if I had a lot of seizures, like, things sometimes just don't appeal more than normal. Okay. And I remember, I think I was actually coming back from radiation, and I'm yelling at my dad, "Black, black, black." And my dad just looks at me and goes, "You mean red? It's a red light, not a black light."
Right.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, you just have to laugh. Like, I think if we weren't those type of people, I think it would be miserable. Like,
sure.
I think people have better, life? See, I'm trying to be all like technical, and I just can't.
No, don't worry about it. You're fine.
Life expectancy. I think it's more if you just kind of have to laugh at it,
Sure, absolutely.
I think you just have to, because I think honestly I probably would be dead if I didn't have mortality.
Sure.
Like, I always say, it is what it is. Like, right. We always joke now.
Sure.
We always kind of just.
Right. So besides like the physical limitations that you had mentioned earlier, you pretty much can live a healthy, normal, what we would consider normal life now, right? Like there's no like type of restrictions. I mean, obviously, other than, the certain ones, but I mean, you can pretty much do everything, right?
To a point, yeah. Like I will always be on disability.
Okay.
Like every intent was for me to go back to social work. I mean, that's
Hmm.
my love. Like I think you have to be a social worker and work in child welfare or crazy, whichever one.
Right.
And so my intent was always to be on my own. But with the unknown of the seizures, side note, if you ever have a seizure, it is a federal, it is a federal, what, not misdemeanor, felony if you are caught driving if you've had seizures.
Okay.
Did you know that?
So now so obviously then you wouldn't qualify for the state license then that you live in.
Yeah,
So there
so,
would be no real reason to drive then, right? At this
right,
point.
because it's every 6 months after a seizure, you have to be seizure free before you
Okay.
drive. And I just had one, like I said to you, right
Yeah.
before this happened. So that's another 6 months. So I've just came to terms that, I won't drive.
Okay.
Um, and maybe when I'm older,
Sure.
um, but the legality of just the seizures and the medicine, I will always have some form of seizure.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I just kind of came to terms with it. But there's other things like I can do. And there's also, nowadays there's like Ubers and
Right.
medical and things like that. But it just seems better to work with.
Sure. But there's no like physical like limit, like you could walk to the store if you wanted to, right? Or
Yeah,
you could
like
kind
yeah,
of,
like I
there's
could,
none of that, right? You're not like bound to.
before before there was like right
Okay.
after the surgeries, I had to be watched and stuff like that. Um, I currently have like I wish I can like do television with you. So I do actually have infection in my ears and right here, and there's actually a piece of skull missing. Um, and that's our next big surgery is to get it like a procedure whatever.
Procedure. Right.
Yeah,
I
that's
got you.
it. That I'll have to do. Um, so like right now, like I have to be really careful. Like I have a helmet that I'm supposed to wear, and I shouldn't be alone because if I were to like start having like a seizure or something,
And
um,
fall.
like a grandma seizure or something,
Hmm.
like I would have to immediately go to the hospital because of
Okay.
having that open. So, but in the future, like I could be on my own.
Okay.
So
So those are all positives then, right? You gotta kind of
yeah,
take the little
yeah.
victories when you can get
Oh,
them
yeah,
then.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a ton of there's a ton. Like one of the things that just kind of fell into place was that my parents moved into the same town as the rest of my siblings. And so all of my families are within 15, 20 minutes from each other.
That's awesome.
So, and one of them is getting ready to actually drive. So I can be like, hey,
Right.
I'll get you an ice cream if you'll take me to Walmart, I just can't wait. Like, hey,
So
that's what to do, so.
so let me ask like the last question. It's kind of the big one. If like something were to happen and like it was, I don't want to say like catastrophic, but if it were like Is that like something you've now kind of prepared for?
Yeah.
Or so you have like these pieces in
Mm-hmm.
place just in case they say, Beth, this is kind of,
Yep.
this might be it? I mean, obviously you kind of had that already, but like now knowing what's next, are you more prepped for that, I guess, is the kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. That right there was kind of hard for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but after the um blood clots, and when your um heart doctor meets you for the first time after having all the surgery, and getting out and blah blah, and he looks at you and he says, I don't know what you do, but you're a miracle. Because I shouldn't be alive. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was God's not done with me, whatever it is, but I shouldn't be here. And I almost died twice.
Okay.
And I think after that, that's when it was like I can't do this to my parents. Like I can't do this to my family, knowing that they're going to have to watch me do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because there's a likelihood of, do I want a DNR? Um, do I want to be intubated? You know,
Sure.
uh, and being a donor. I do have two powers of attorney. My mother's a power of attorney, and my sister's a power of attorney. They know what my wishes are. Um, my parents have all of like my logins and things like that, and we've had conversations. Um, I mean, I'm down to knowing there's a kid that I knew in high school who had made a song, and it's a long story, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I had told him everything, and he's actually willing to come if all things, depending on how long I'm alive or not. And if he can't, then he will definitely send a CD so at the funeral they can see that, and who I want the pastors are, um, down to pictures, and
Sure.
who I want,
Right.
you know.
So what we're going to do though is we're going to end this on a positive note because I know you're going to keep fighting. I know you have a great spirit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you on next month and we're going to check in. And every month we're going to do a check-in. So you get to hang out with me on the podcast.
I love
We'll
that.
talk about life. We'll talk about whatever you got going on because you're going to be around for a while. So
Oh yeah.
I want to hear all this stuff that's been going on. So
Yeah.
you're going to be one of my first repeat guests and we will check in every month and we'll just have a simple conversation like this,
Yeah.
and we'll talk and we'll let the world know what you got going on because your spirit is incredible. And I love your outlook on life and I love the positivity that you put out there. And I wanted everybody to hear your story because dealing with this is not easy. Cancer affects everybody in a different way, but having the positivity you have and the outlook you have, like it captured me. And from the first time we met on TikTok till now, it's an incredible story and I want to keep hearing about it. So I'm going to keep having you on as a guest every month. We'll keep doing this.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you uh some stories. Like
Awesome.
there's a lot of things that I do, and just because of the type of, brain damage.
Sure.
There's times when, like, I'll never forget this, like, I wanted to say chicken and noodles, but I was saying mac and cheese, and it just went stop. Like, and I knew that I was saying the wrong thing.
Right.
And finally, I look at my mom like, I'm done. Like, there are days that I just look at them and be like, I'm gonna be veggie because like nothing's coming.
Right.
There's just tons of things, and like we have inside jokes, like so this is another really funny one, but just goes to show like how not just me but my whole family,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I don't know what you do, but sometimes in certain areas there's like, like cops have like certain mentalities, um firefighters and paramedics, and everyone has a thing. Well,
Mm-hmm.
being a social worker, I also have my own. There's some crazy things that we had to deal with, and so sometimes we just had to laugh, or
Right.
cry, everyone. So we would always make jokes, and we have dirty minds too. And
Hold on, guys. I don't. We might have lost Beth. I'm gonna give it a few seconds to see if it was just an error. I see your name still up, so I think
oh
we.
yeah, sorry,
There
my
you go. No worries.
thing was calling. Anyways, so we're in this thing, and my sister is an PA in one of the nursing homes. My brother and sister-in-law also run the EMS area in that same place. So a lot of people know me. A lot of people know when they see the last name, they know to take care of me.
Okay.
And so one of them just happens to be a good friend of my brother. My brother was there. And there's always registration that comes in off of like pads and stuff like that. So like they're doing their thing, trying to get vitals, blah blah. And she goes, how did she? Oh, I hate that I can't like word for word. Um, she was asking me what I did for a profession, and I said I'm a licensed social worker for KBC, blah blah blah. And I was like, well, maybe that's where I got the tumor. Being funny.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was laughing. Her face was like, I think we need to talk to somebody. Like, she didn't get it, and she was concerned.
Right.
And everyone was laughing, and I'm like, probably shouldn't have done this. So I was just
Yeah.
waiting for, like,
Right.
someone to show up. You just have to. Um, One of the other things that we do a lot of is when I have really bad, like, I call it stupid moments or brain damage moments. Like our family is like that, and we got in trouble. I feel horrible because we didn't know it, but there was a lady that was close to us that was going through what I was going through,
Mm-hmm.
and so she heard it, and we were just being funny, like and she started crying really bad. And so her mom came over to us and was just like, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, ma'am, like, I'm allowed to do that because here's the situation, blah, blah, blah. So it actually ended up being good because I was able to go talk to her. And
Sure.
like, sometimes you just have to laugh, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm going through the same thing. Like, it was just a joke, blah, blah, blah. Like, I really don't do it. And I felt horrible. And then I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't do that in
Sure.
public.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
But
yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. But like I said, I love your outlook on life. I love the
Yeah.
positivity. I love that we can joke around with something as
Oh yeah.
serious as it is, but to take it lightly. But like I said, I want to check in with you. I want to have you on once a month just to catch up. We'll tell some stories. We'll see
Yeah.
what's going on, and we'll go from there. You've been a fantastic guest. You did great. So now this is going to be a new segment. Then I'll come up with a name so we could just have it's
I love
specific for you when you come on. So
the
it's going to
other
be
one
awesome. I can't wait for the next one.
is if that happens again, at least one time, my mother, because she's got some really great stories. She can tell you a lot of funny things.
Sure, bring mom on too. We'll set it up
Yeah.
where she could be on with us.
I don't know what all was happened like on like when I have surgeries and stuff like that, but she can tell you a lot of really funny things that happened.
Well, what we'll have mom on too then, so we'll make it a family affair. But thanks, Beth, for being an
Yep.
awesome guest. We'll see you next month. And guys, I am going to link all of Beth's socials. Her TikTok is incredible. I always, say that, to take a negative and turn it into a positive. And Beth is a prime example for that. So, Beth, thanks for being a great guest. We'll set it up for next month, and we're going to do a monthly segment with you. So it's going to be awesome. All right. So you take care. I hope you're feeling well, and I'll see you next month.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, everybody.